Okay, so we are done with Scrum Master and Product Owner. What we are exploring is team and technical agility. And the goal of this particular lesson is to give you a feeling of what is there in various roles. We will look into these roles as we look at the framework again. For example, when we talk about PI planning meeting, we will discuss it, who is doing what in a PI planning meeting. When we look at a ART backlog, we are refining the ART backlog, we are estimating the ART backlog. We'll talk about these things again. When we are talking about various demos, system demos, various facilitation of the meetings, we'll refer to the role again. But here we get a fundamental level understanding. Okay, these are the people who are doing a particular type of job in a safe context.
Okay, a quick question over here. So the product owner over here, when it says connecting with the customer, does he connect directly with the customer? Because here he is a member of the agile team, right? So he might be connecting with the product manager or product.
Yeah.
That will be the customer for him, right? So it's internal stakeholders which he's connecting with.
Yeah, basically yes. So as we said in our that Jamboard, it could be a part of the group which is connecting with the customer, but that group will be led by product management. Yeah, so there is a possibility the product management takes them to various ART backlog refinement thing, but they are not responsible for capturing customer needs and putting them into ART backlog. The responsibility and accountability of maintaining the ART backlog with the product management. The product owner is responsible for ensuring team backlog items. The team backlog items will contain the expansion of ART backlog item. Yeah.
Okay. And also, what is NFRs?
NFRs will, this is like just trying to show that whenever you put a team backlog, program backlog, it could be a non-functional requirement as well. So it contains, your backlog contains functional as well as non-functional requirements.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And whenever you see a backlog, it also showed in a little bit of a Kanban way. So you can say that there will be a stages before the backlog item can go to a backlog level. And afterwards also we'll track it with the help of Kanban system. So this is a presentation you will see in the safe context.
So, product owners will also be in touch with business, people, business owner.
Little bit, yes. Yeah. So idea here is as much I need in order to make my feature implemented, I need to connect to those stakeholders. So say I am working on a feature, I am creating user stories out of a feature, a particular thing may not be clear to me. I can discuss with product management also, and I may directly discuss with the stakeholders. So there is no rule, do it or don't do it, but that's the thing.
Okay, thank you.
So you need to get the requirement, that's it. Good, anything else, anyone? Product owner. So primarily product owner writes user story in a way. Okay, so we move. We'll talk about PI.
When you said the product owner writes user stories, but will the product owner be responsible for writing the technical story in a technical jargon, or will the product owner be responsible only for the functional description? Because
usually the functional user stories. Yeah, usually the functional user stories. Okay. Now, same is true for product management also. Yeah. So product management also will focus on functional requirement which are given in the form of a feature. Okay. Now we will learn a little bit more. The system architect role which is coming, they are the one who are focusing on technical requirement. So technical requirement at a ART level, the system architect should own it. And at a team level, maybe some collaboration with system architect should own it at a team level. We'll touch once we reach that particular slide. So this simulation part we do in one go in our next class. So a little bit of how do we work. So they are saying safe Scrum overview. So it's a Scrum only, but it uses the safe terminology, so it becomes a safe Scrum. So we can say here, so you have a PI boundary as we learned, And in the PI boundary, before you enter to a PI boundary, you have a PI planning meeting. Yeah. In the PI planning meeting, we identify ART backlog items, which are features or technical items also. So whenever you see this color, it's a special technical item. That's the differentiation. We will learn about it a little more. Just for giving you a view, it is called enabler. So we can have a business stories, or we can have enabler stories. We can have a business feature, or we can have an enabler feature. So technical is enabler. Enabler is more taken care by technical team. So going back, we can say we are doing the at a beginning or before we enter in a PI, we do a PI planning meeting. In the PI planning meeting, we take the work from ART backlog, and each team is expected to make a plan for the PI. Now, when they make a plan for a PI, they make a PI level goals. Yeah, we will learn about PI planning in detail, but we are getting little idea here. So PI level goals are something like, okay, this feature I will do in this PI. So they make that. And that PI level goals are called PI objectives. So during PI planning meeting, each team makes PI objective. PI objective 90% of the time will be coming from ART backlog. So you had a feature in the ART backlog. My team wants to work on that search feature. That will become my PI objective. So that's the one thing happens in a PI planning meeting. During the PI planning meeting only, you can't make a goal, agreement, or commitment till the time you have a plan to meet it. Though you are not committing to the plan, you are committing to the objective only. But during the PI planning meeting, the teams are expected to identify user stories for that particular feature at a high level and estimate it. And based on that, then only they will say we will finish this feature. Yeah? Because they need to do their own estimation. They don't want to rely on the estimations done by someone else at a feature level, something we touched yesterday also. So based on that, as the PI planning meeting gets over, the team has a PI objective, and team has a high level of identified user stories and estimation done for achieving those PI objective. They collect everything, all those user stories, and put it into a backlog, and they call it team backlog. So as a result of a PI planning meeting, I get a PI objective and a first draft of a team backlog, which we will keep maintaining and reviewing it. Team backlog is not frozen, it is not committed. Objectives are expected to be committed, which is more like, okay, they use as a guideline for our reference. So this is a way we populate the team backlog. Now, once you have a team backlog, then what we are doing, we have our multiple iterations. Now this team backlog is used for all the iterations. So we keep maintaining, refining it. Each iteration, we may have a team backlog refinement meeting, where the user stories which are already there in the team backlog may get splitted, add acceptance criteria to it, we take care of it. And as we start a given iteration, the way we do in a Scrum, we identify the high priority team backlog items as prioritized by the product owner, the team backlog, and we take as per our team capacity, and we do our iteration planning. So same like your sprint planning, we do iteration planning. And as a result of iteration planning, we produce an iteration backlog or a sprint backlog, which is a backlog for a given 2 weeks sprint. Yeah, so same like Scrum, we plan our 2 weeks iteration to start with typically. During the day, the way the Scrum does daily Scrum, here they call it team sync. In the version 6, they started using this word. Earlier, they used to call daily stand up. But the team sync is done, which is done daily to ensure that we are moving towards the right direction. And once the 2 weeks gets over, we demonstrate our work, which we have committed in the iteration planning, in the iteration review. And we also do a retrospective meeting to identify how things are working and how things needs to be improved to improve our upcoming iteration work. On system level, yeah, this whole team may move to the second iteration, but there could be few individuals who may also participate in a system level demo, which is expected to be done by integrating multiple teams output. So if I plot it little bit more clearly, we can say that this is our PI. Here is a given iteration. One team started, they did a iteration planning meeting, they did a sync up, they created a product. Another team is also doing it. Yeah, so this is a team backlog. They are doing daily stand up. They had an iteration review. They gave a demo to their local stakeholder. And after this is done, there will be a integration work done and then we do a system level demo. Some individuals are working in that particular space, other are already running for the next iteration. Again, we follow the same cycle, we finish it and we integrate it. In between, we also keep refining our team backlog here. So we do a team backlog refinement on a weekly basis, so that by the time we reach to a next iteration, we have a well-defined team backlog. Yeah. So this is how the safe Scrum operates. In a simple word, you have a meetings like iteration planning, team sync up, iteration review, and iteration retrospective. Little bit ART level meeting which is impacted, we call it system demos, but it's not a team, full team is not expected to be present there. The artifact point of view, you have a team backlog, you have a iteration backlog or a sprint backlog equivalent, and you have a increment at the end. And that's the typical Scrum flow as well.
And Saket, question here.
Wait, yeah.
So let's say the team for the iteration backlog, or let's say even for the PI planning the stories which has been like the team backlog, at what stage is the estimation done? Right, because let's say I know in my
Multiple stages.
capacity.
So let me give this, and this is an important thing, we'll keep discussing it, but I gave you little idea here to start with. So we need to understand the estimation is done at a, whenever you reach to a user story, the estimation is done by the team. If the estimation is done at a feature level, then the different group takes care of it. So we can say when we are going through our feature refinement here, then also we need to do an estimation of directly features. And at this point in time, we don't even know which team will work on it. So this group takes care of estimation directly done at a feature level. Usually the system architect plays a leading role when it requires to be done at an ART level. That's a plan discussion point for today as well. So that's a one thing. Now, once you reach to your innovation and planning iteration, somewhere here, maybe 1 week before PI planning meeting, you get a tentative allocation of features to the teams. So product owner starts working with the teams, and they start dividing the work into user stories, and they start estimating it. We can say around 60% of our estimations for that particular feature is done 1 week before or during the last week of our PI planning preparation. So innovation planning sprint is the space where we do it. After that, we go into PI planning meeting, and we can revisit our user story level estimation. Team can revisit it. Hopefully 80% clarity should come by this point in time, because based on that they make their PI level plan. So here again the team is refining and re-looking at the estimate, maybe they get a new information. On a regular basis, when the team is doing team backlog refinement, they can revisit the estimation here also. Probably now they know more about the user story, they realize they did a mistake before. So mistake has to be corrected. So they can revisit that estimated here also, maybe 20% clarity comes here. Now there could be a one exception situation where something was 5-pointer before and becomes 10-pointer here. So whenever the situation comes, we need to face it and learn from it. But from a safe perspective, team keeps doing estimation incrementally by way of team backlog refinement process.
So at any point in time, when there's just 20% there, so it might impact the velocity for each iteration, right?
Yeah, anything. So whatever is reality. This 20%, 80% is just as an example. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying as an example.
Yes,
there's a chance that the velocity might reduce, or sometimes I might have estimated more, but the task was very simple. So I could add more velocity by doing a pull of additional story there.
Yes. Anything can happen. Yeah. So we just need to keep it visible.
Okay. So the initial will be from the ART backlog, where there will be a good amount of high-level estimation by the solution architect.
Perfect.
And then when it comes to the team level, the backlog, then there's a second level of estimation.
And that keeps refining.
So, and is this innovation and planning iteration only for this estimation part?
So we will see that. We will see more details. So we have a complete section of slides. It has few things like PI planning also happens there. So till now we have spoken about 2 things which are happening in innovation and planning iteration. One is a PI planning meeting that happens there, and we have learned that we do a preparation for PI planning by way of doing estimation. That is also happening there. So 2 activities we already know. Few more activities will get added as we go along. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, okay. So again, I know this is like the framework has a lot of here and there, so I try to give little bit advanced information, but people who are not getting it very clearly, don't worry. This whole process of PI planning, estimation, and etc., we will go one by one, step by step, and look into the detail as we move forward. So coming back here, they are only explaining the iteration cycle, the small sprint cycle, and they are saying, we do a 2 weeks sprint by way of building thing incrementally at the level of user stories. Yeah, so that's a safe Scrum overview. Now, another difference, one can also follow Kanban team. So like yesterday's comment, you can't have anything other than Scrum or Kanban. Yeah, or they do recommend Scrum team also should visualize their work, so they should follow Kanban all the time. But there is a possibility some teams may not want to do sprint planning. Yeah, their work is more dynamic. They want to plan work every day rather than in the beginning. So their PI level work remains more or less the same. They do a PI planning. They need to identify the work they want to do in a PI planning. They can have their own frequency of planning. They can visualize their work. But at the same time, whenever the team system demos are happening, these teams are also expected to participate in it. So the Kanban team may not have a say 2 weeks planning cycle, 2 weeks integration cycle, 2 weeks review cycle, but they may do a daily planning or a weekly planning. But whenever the other teams are finishing, they must give their part finishing also in the system demo. So they do participate in the system demo. They need to align their work finishing along with the system demo. But inside those limits, they can do things differently. Yeah. So it's not pure Kanban. It's not like always 100% flow-based system. It's a Kanban inside the safe context. So sometimes you may not want to follow a 2 week planning cycle, and then you can follow a Kanban for those teams. Usually, the teams where the work is emerging, like defect fixing, incident management, or supporting the other teams by way of infrastructure support, integration support, deployment support, those kind of teams may use Kanban process because their work is difficult to get planned 2 weeks in advance. So that's is a possibility of using Kanban teams in SAFe. So we learned Scrum Master, Product Owner. We learned that this Agile team will follow Scrum Safe or Safe Kanban. So Safe Scrum or Safe Kanban, there's a safe flavor of it, both the things. And they do things incrementally and manage and validate their work. Now they follow Safe Scrum or they follow Safe Kanban. In both the cases, we do want them to ensure that they have a visualization of their work. So again, these stages and steps are just an example, but we want to ensure the team should be having visualization and limiting work in progress to ensure the flow is accelerated, because visualization and limiting in work in progress ensures us the movement of work towards the finishing. Yeah. So these are the 3 process recommendations. You can use Safe Scrum, you can use Safe Kanban, and then irrespective of what you use, you need to use visualization and limiting work in progress. Any question on the team level role? We have not yet touched upon the Agile release train level roles in detail, but team level roles are expected to be over by now. So what is team? Inside the Agile release train, you have multiple boxes like a train, and these are the Agile teams. And the Agile teams are expected to have a Scrum Master or a team coach or a product owner and team members. And we learned about what they do and how they work in the previous slides. Good. So building quality, little theory again. So the idea here is just putting the Scrum process, just putting the safe process, we will not get the great product. We need to have an ability to do good coding, good testing. So again, the process cannot fix that, but process can remind it. So that's what the SAFe is doing. SAFe is saying that guys, without good coding skills, without good defect fixing skills, without good preventive skills, we will not be able to scale our Agile. And since here the multiple teams are impacted, if you keep working on something and keep fixing it for another 1 month, then that will be a problem for many teams now. You need to ensure that work is done first time right. Yeah, so built-in quality is that quality should be designed in the system and focus on good quality practices. So here's some reminder. We are not teaching you how to code here. Reminder that, okay, this is important for scaling agile. So they are saying you can't scale the crappy code or anything which is not working, and you may need to find out some of the practices which can help you in achieving good building quality. Now in the content they are saying, you may have a specific areas, and based on those specific areas you may have special built-in quality recommendations. So say for the IT system, you may have a system quality, you may have a dev quality processes, you may have a agile quality practices, you may have a business functions, you may have some guidelines, standards, and some quality principles which needs to be followed. So depending upon in which area you are working, in which domain you are working, hardware, software and all, you need to identify what makes us better, what makes us in achieving products and product which are defect free. So we need to work on that. Now some of the recommendations, so they are saying basic agile quality practices. They also becomes exam questions. What are which of the following is a basic agile quality practice? So please do keep in mind these words. Yeah, they are like tricky words, but they play a role there. So shift left learning. So it is saying that the sooner you learn, yeah, the sooner the problem get revealed, the better it is. Yeah? So you need to focus on early identification of issues. So you need to shift your learning to an early stage, that they call it shift learning left. Yeah. So like you are moving and you produce a result. So it's like left to right movement. So if you push your learning towards left, that is called shift learning left. Yeah. So the learning can be done here rather than learning is happening at a later stage. So that's a reminder, and that's a good practice if you can follow in order to improve your quality practices. Then peering and peer review. So as you may understand that you have done your work, someone else has done your work, you can do a cross reviews. Yeah. Someone can review your work, you can review somebody else's work, or the two of you can come together and work together so that you can apply both of your mind together and do a better work. So that's called pair programming or pairing. And peer reviews, that you are reviewing each other's work. Again, the idea is that we identify the issues early. Collective ownership or T-shaped professional. So it is primarily focusing on that you have a developers, they did a code, but it is not a code is owned by this developer alone. If there is an issue, this guy can also come and change it. And we should follow a common guidelines, common coding standards, so that it is easily manageable by any developer. So we are saying that if you make a code ownership collective, then also it helps us in achieving quality objective. T-shaped professionals or T-shaped skills is linked to reducing hands-off. So the idea here is the person has a multiple skills, so they can do more work of a different nature. So this is presented in this particular way, like you may have your core area, core skills, and you may have some secondary skills. So the more you have secondary skills, first you can be useful to remove bottlenecks, because sometimes the core skill guy is busy, so you can like this particular skill guy is busy, so you can also assist there. So for example, you are a scrum master. Along with the scrum master, you also have business analysis skills. So whenever your product owner is busy, you can do a business analysis work. Yeah? So that helps you in moving things forward. So that's a T-shaped professional. Artifact standards and definition of done. So it is also ensure consistency, like you have a clarity about how do we say describe features, what all components should be very well explained in the feature definition or a user story definition. How should we write the acceptance criteria? So when you have a standards for it, it ensures good quality. Similarly, we can have a clear understanding of completion, which is called definition of done, and we can have a consistent definition of done at an agile release train level, which ensures that good quality practices are included before you mark anything done. You can also follow on workflow automation. So whenever you have a repetitive job, deployment, compilation and all, the more and more automation can help us in reducing the batch size and errors. As we learned before, the repetitive work should be automated. So I remind you again, from the exam perspective, the basic agile quality practices are interesting thing because they are introduced in the version 6. So usually they get asked, and these are some of the ideas which can help us in improving quality at the team level. Again, little theory here, but they are high level ideas. Any question rather than we do like this, but here only we can discuss. If some of you are using it, having familiarity with these quality practices, we can talk.
Maybe a generic question. So when we let's say we have let's say from a technical standpoint, people say let's install some tools which helps in evaluating the code quality before we do the deployments and everything. So does it also mean like building quality within the practice, or how is it?
So it's a good, yeah. So it's little delayed, but so it's like this. When you are doing coding, then you are doing testing, then you are doing deployment. Now, if you want to
No,
do
no.
the code here, testing
Sorry.
code.
I didn't mean that. So what I meant is, my team is a development team. Let's say normally how we used to do is we used to the team used to do the development, and there'll be a peer review, okay, and then they do the deployment, okay. The testing comes in only after the deployment, because for the tester he should have a working solution to test where to go and test this scenario. So testing does not come before the deployment. Now what they wanted to introduce, or the customer wanted to introduce, is they want to introduce something called as a Sonar Cube, a tool which will be used for testing the quality of the code. So is the code good enough? Are the code exposed, or what is the quality of your code? So now this is an additional thing which says that, okay, only if your quality of the code is around 70% or 80%, then it'll allow you to deploy. Otherwise, it says that, okay, your code is vulnerable, right? And then you have to go and fix your code and make it proper, so that before the code is you can deploy
Got your
something.
point. Got your point. So that is what I was trying. So here you are applying a Sonar Cube to identify the coding errors. Yeah,
Yeah.
coding practice is not followed. Now that's a test. Yeah, that's a test which will reduce the probability of having rework after the testing. And there is a possibility that those issues may not even get detected in the testing also, because testing
Yeah.
might be testing the functional flow. So the only thing which SAFe will recommend is, or Agile will recommend is, why do you wait till there? Can't you do it on a daily basis, the check of Sonar Cube here only, so that you don't even you will finish the user story and say that my user story is completed till the time it is not done the particular tool validation. That's it. Yeah. The sooner you do, the better it is. Now, if you have a reason not you can't do it till here, then you are carrying a risk, because the developer might have forgot what he has done 2 days ago, and now you are saying you missed this particular exception handling, or there is a duplicacy in your code. So it will take time for that guy to fix it.
So it's more or less you're saying that it should be done at the code merge level.
Hourly level. So if you can do every hour, then it's more better. Yeah. So that person,
You have to look at the cost of it.
yeah, that's the point. So the whole idea here is matching with the principle number 4. So the sooner we get the impact of our mistakes, we fix it, and the cost of fixing get reduced. So we need to see what is our balance. And again, the principle number 6, transaction cost and holding cost. We need to see what is the benefit we are getting to fix it early stages, and what is the cost of running this. Yeah. If the cost of running this is expensive, time taken is expensive, and the benefits are less, you do it less frequently. If it is not, you do it more frequently. But in general, by default, the sooner you get the feedback, the better it is. That's the thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, somebody sooner could be 1 week later also, because of the nature they are working in. So that's why the principles are important. We don't know exactly how it will operate. We need to take a reference. We understand fast feedback is a good idea. Simple. Okay, so general quality stuff. I'm sure many of you must have some experience of these words, maybe not using the exact words, but different way of ensuring quality in your process. Yeah. If this is done, then we go to Agile release train. Someone has a point? No? So we have learned about Agile teams.